$25 billion pipeline that could transform West Africa. One of Africa's most ambitious energy projects is taking shape along the Atlantic coast. The plan is to build a natural gas pipeline stretching roughly 6,900 kilometers from Nigeria to Morocco, connecting or supplying several West African countries along the way. At full capacity, the African Atlantic gas pipeline is expected to transport around 30 billion cubic meters of gas per year. The estimated cost is about $25 billion. If completed, it could become one of the longest gas pipelines in the world. But the project is not only about moving gas. It could affect electricity generation, fertilizer production, manufacturing, regional trade, and West Africa's geopolitical position. In July 2026, ECOWAS member states signed an important intergovernmental agreement supporting the project. But political support is only one step. Financing, security, engineering, and future gas demand remain major challenges. So can this pipeline genuinely transform West Africa? Or will it become another ambitious mega project that struggles to move from agreements to construction? The vision? The project was originally known as the Nigeria-Morocco Gas Pipeline. It is increasingly described as the African Atlantic Gas Pipeline because its ambition extends far beyond those two countries. The route would begin in Nigeria and follow the Atlantic coast through West Africa before reaching Morocco. Countries along or connected to the corridor include Benin, Togo, Ghana, Côte d'Ivoire, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Guinea-Bissau, the Gambia, Senegal, and Mauritania. From Morocco, the pipeline could eventually connect with infrastructure linking North Africa to Spain and European markets. But the official vision is broader than exports. Participating countries could receive gas for domestic use, electricity generation, and industry. That means the project could become either an export pipeline or a regional development corridor. The difference will depend on how it is implemented. Why Nigeria and Morocco want it? Nigeria possesses some of Africa's largest natural gas resources, but has struggled to convert that wealth into reliable domestic energy and industrial development. Gas can generate electricity, produce fertilizer, support petrochemicals, and earn export revenue. But without pipelines and processing infrastructure, much of that potential remains underused. The Atlantic Pipeline could give Nigeria access to a large network of regional customers and strengthen its position as a major African energy supplier. However, Nigeria faces an obvious political challenge. If gas is exported while Nigerian households and factories continue experiencing power shortages, the project will be difficult to defend. Its success must therefore be measured partly by whether it improves energy access inside Nigeria. Morocco has different reasons for supporting the project. It does not possess gas reserves comparable to Nigeria's, but it has strong geography, industrial infrastructure, and access to Europe. Additional gas could support Moroccan industry, reduce dependence on coal, and strengthen the country's role as an energy bridge between West Africa and Europe. The pipeline also fits Morocco's broader economic expansion into sub-Saharan Africa through banking, telecommunications, fertilizer, and infrastructure. Nigeria brings the gas. Morocco brings geography, infrastructure, and access to northern markets. West Africa's energy crisis? The strongest argument for the pipeline may not be European exports. It may be West Africa's own electricity shortage. Many countries in the region continue to experience unreliable power and high energy costs. Businesses frequently rely on diesel generators during outages. That makes manufacturing expensive. A textile factory cannot operate efficiently if machines stop repeatedly. A cold storage facility cannot preserve food without reliable electricity. A hospital cannot depend on unstable power for operating theaters and laboratories. Natural gas could support new gas-fired power stations and replace some expensive diesel and heavy fuel oil power by providing flexible generation when renewable output falls. This does not mean West Africa should abandon renewable energy. A balanced strategy could combine solar, wind, hydroelectricity, batteries, and gas during the transition towards a cleaner and more reliable power system. But a pipeline passing near a community does not automatically provide electricity. Countries will still need local distribution pipelines, power stations, transmission networks, and industrial connections. Without those investments, the gas could pass through the region without transforming it. The industrial opportunity. The project's greatest economic value may come from what happens after the gas enters each country. Natural gas is an important input for fertilizer production. West Africa has large agricultural potential, yet many farmers struggle with high fertilizer costs and low productivity. Regional gas supplies could support fertilizer factories and reduce dependence on imports. Gas can also support cement, steel, ceramics, glass, and petrochemical industries. Those industries create wider supply chains. A fertilizer plant needs engineers, maintenance workers, packaging companies, storage facilities, and transport services. Industrial zones need roads, electricity, water, and telecommunications. If planned strategically, the pipeline could become the backbone of a wider industrial corridor along the West African coast. But governments must prepare before the gas arrives. If gas simply flows through each country on its way to Morocco or Europe, transit states may receive only fees and a limited number of jobs. The countries involved need industrial strategies that connect the pipeline to power plants, fertilizer production, and manufacturing. Regional integration. Shared infrastructure can also force deeper regional cooperation. Countries must agree on tariffs, transit rules, technical standards, security, and dispute resolution. The project could build on the existing West African gas pipeline, which already carries Nigerian gas to Benin, Togo, and Ghana. The larger corridor could expand the concept across much of the region. This matters for the African Continental Free Trade Area. Free trade cannot produce industrialization if factories lack dependable electricity. Regional trade agreements need physical infrastructure behind them. A functioning energy corridor could help provide that foundation. Europe and geopolitics. Europe is another important part of the project's economic case. European countries have sought more diversified energy supplies following disruptions linked to the Russia-Ukraine war. A pipeline connecting Nigeria to Morocco and potentially Spain could provide another source of gas. Long-term European purchase agreements could also help attract financing, but there is a risk. Europe is simultaneously reducing fossil fuel consumption and investing heavily in renewable energy, electrification, and green hydrogen. A pipeline of this scale could take many years to finance and construct. By the time it reaches full operation, European gas demand may be lower than expected. That is why West Africa should not build the entire economic case around Europe. The strongest long-term justification should be African demand. Gas should first support African homes, industries, and agriculture. Exports can generate revenue, but regional development must remain central. The $25 billion challenge. The project's scale is also its biggest weakness. An estimated cost of $25 billion makes it one of the largest infrastructure projects ever proposed in Africa. Investors will want proof that enough customers are ready to purchase the gas. They will need political guarantees, stable regulation, and confidence that the project can compete with liquefied natural gas and renewable energy. The pipeline is expected to be developed in phases, which may reduce the immediate financing burden. Feasibility and engineering work have progressed, and the 2026 ECOWAS agreement strengthened the political framework. But political endorsement is not the same as final investment. Until commercial agreements, lenders, investors, and final financing are secured, the pipeline remains an advanced proposal rather than a completed energy corridor. Security and climate risks. The route would cross a region facing political instability, piracy, insurgencies, and organized crime. Although much of the pipeline may be offshore or coastal, compressor stations and other land-based infrastructure will still require protection. Nigeria already has extensive experience with pipeline vandalism and oil theft. Security across several countries will therefore require long-term institutional cooperation. There is also the climate question. Natural gas generally emits less carbon dioxide than coal when burned for electricity, but it remains a fossil fuel. Methane leakage can significantly increase its climate impact. Critics may argue that $25 billion would be better spent on solar, wind, batteries, and modern electricity grids. That concern is legitimate. The project should therefore support the energy transition rather than delay it, with strict controls on methane emissions and strong protection for coastal communities and fishing grounds. Who will benefit? Every African mega project eventually faces the same question. Who receives the benefits? Will local engineers and technicians be trained? Will African companies win construction and maintenance contracts? Will communities receive reliable electricity? Will gas support local manufacturing? Will revenues be invested transparently? Participating governments should establish measurable local content requirements and ensure that transit fees and gas revenues support electricity, education, and productive infrastructure. Without these protections, the pipeline could generate enormous financial flows while leaving the existing economic structure largely unchanged. The African Atlantic Gas Pipeline is one of the boldest infrastructure ideas on the continent. It could connect Nigeria's gas resources with West African economies, Morocco's industrial network, and potentially European markets. It could strengthen electricity generation, fertiliser production, manufacturing, and regional trade. But construction alone will not guarantee transformation. The real test will be what the gas does inside Africa. If it powers factories, farms, businesses, and communities, the pipeline could become a foundation for industrial development. If it mainly moves gas north for export while participating countries remain energy poor, the project will reproduce an old pattern in a new form. West Africa does not simply need a pipeline. It needs an energy corridor that spreads opportunity across the region. Will the African Atlantic Gas Pipeline drive West African industrialization, or mainly become another export route to Europe? Share your view in the comments and subscribe to Africa Power Watch for more documentaries on the projects, resources, and power struggles shaping Africa's future.